I'm not really sure what to talk about this because I've already attempted it several times and not really felt like I've been successful with explaining it, saying how I feel, whatever. It's gotten to a point now where I think it needs to be discussed, and it's not an easy situation to discuss. It's game related, yes, but even then, it's like the thing I look forward to every day to an extent, and it's something I've put a lot of time and money into, believe it or not. Um, yeah, so let's talk about it. There's obviously like Genshin Impact drama with VAs, and I think it's very sort of childish what the community are doing to an extent. They're trying to spread disinformation and stuff, and there's no like correct information for some reason by anyone, not even the voice actors. So it's a bit like, okay, you must be Hoyoverse or something, and the voice actors must be evil. There's no winning in this situation. So it's just fuck it, really. Um, it's a very bizarre situation, though, all things considered. And I don't like it one bit. Like, I hate AI. I've never liked it since it started, even with Dolly, which was terrible. I've never agreed with it, and this drama only happened because there's no AI protections for voice actors and actors for that matter. And because of that, how do you expect people to not panic? If that makes sense. Um, it's a very strange situation. But I mainly want to talk about the other Hoyoverse game that was potentially more controversial than it could ever be, really. Honkai Star Rail. Now, I quit the game in 1.1 for various reasons. Admittedly, I was a rage quit over a puzzle that was just so slow. Like, nobody looks at that and thinks, okay, let's make it slower. And they did that for some fucking reason. It just made no sense. And then I heard there was a free 5-star in 1.6, so I started playing. I enjoyed my time through Penacony. As I started playing more, I hated the endgame still. The characters definitely felt more creative, definitely more interesting as well. And yeah, did I prefer it over Pokemon though? Like looking back on it, Pokemon being the only other turn-based I played. No, and there's a few reasons why. And I only really come to realise some of these today after watching another video which I'll go into. But, like Pokemon is a true turn-based game, and so is like Persona and Metaphor even does it recently. There's probably other games I don't know about. I've definitely had some like mini games every here and there in other games. Like World of Warcraft Pet Bars are fucking awful, they're miserable. I never wanted to play them again after that. It's just not worth it. Bloody hell. Um yeah, like turn based wise it's not great. And I think the way to tackle it is to simply overhaul the system. Simple really. And this includes things like adding the end game back to the thing, like having basically better resource management in the form of bringing back every old event and every old end game so people have the chance to get the rewards again. And that'd be great. And having the options to delete it, because that's definitely something you can do. It's not impossible. Like, you have the fucking systems there. We have the technology now. So why can't you do it? I've always been questioning that, even in Genshin Impact, which is arguably a better game at the moment. Holy shit. It's embarrassing, and even looking at the games, I do feel embarrassed still. Um, I said this since like the start of Genshin. In fact, there's like so many embarrassing things about these games. They don't feel like they're made by developers in a sense. It sometimes feels actually like it's made by AI before AI even existed, and I think that says a lot, really. Like I say, a lot about developers in general. As much as it can be a tough job, and it actually can be a good job at times, I don't think it is, yeah, and they definitely haven't hit the mark properly. Even though Natlan's been great in Genshin Impact, and I haven't played CCZ, but I've heard it's great. Um, but it's like Honkai Star Rail was like the odd one out, as far as I know, and it still is, and that sucks. Um, and just thinking about like, all the patches and stuff of the quality of life, like these should have been there from the start. And people have said it should being there from the start. And I remember in like betas and stuff, like people saying that the artifact system was bad. I remember even before playing Genshin Impact, I think I heard about the artifact system. I think there was a massive drama about it, and I think even the gacha to an extent, where people just didn't like it, and that ended up not being changed. Which is fucking terrible. Okay. But yeah, on to present day though. Global passives. Everything. Almost isn't in the special program because, of course, it was Chinese and I wasn't paying attention to the subtitles all the time. It was kind of hard to concentrate and read everything. I liked the look of Castro's kit, but the global passive I completely missed until I was pointing out on the subreddit. And it seems that if you own Castros, then you get a global passive. Okay, what can it be? Turns out it revives your entire team fucking once. Like once per character. Which not only is busted, but is extremely pay to win, and even though we have no right to complain about pay to win given the existence of idolms and well like store stuff, like extra artifacts and relic stuff. But it's like it's such a bad decision even from a design perspective, because it just is a free cheat. You know, where you could make a creative abundance character with a passive that auto revives everyone, but because they're sacrificing HP, that's like the caveat, that's like the trade off. Like you sacrifice HP of yourself. You can't revive yourself, but you can revive the team. And like that's the thing. That can work out. And there are plenty of creative ways that players can work around that. So you don't need to have a passive where essentially it affects the entire account. But if you did, you do it how games actually do it. Not by being different, but by doing it how the others did it and did it well. Instead, it's tied to story. I think back to the old glory days of like Saints Row and stuff, and all the amazing upgrades they have had. That your character can get like slight damage and vulnerability, and Saints Row 3 went over the top with that because it had like infinite ammo eventually for weapons. But the point is that if you want to do a buff properly, you do it through completing the story. And these games weren't any different. You unlock stuff through doing the story and doing activities and stuff. And the reason why the global passive is such a huge problem for the game is because it incentivizes you to roll on it, roll on the character, which is Castros in this case. And usually characters are must balls, and sometimes it's just meh. But you also do get some that are like skip, easy. Aglo was an example because she's shit. She looks cool, She apparently did well and wasn't meant to break in, but you needed E1 and a team that can support her, like Hoyoverse, Deegan, and Sunday, which just wasn't fun. And that was just to get her energy up. And this is just bad game design. Simple as that, and I've always said this in my videos. It's bad game design no matter what, because these developers clearly don't know how to design a game. And we, the players, well, customers know it's best usually. So we have the right to criticise and demand change. And I think sometimes, like, one of the problems with developers is they get stuck in their own ways, or they go on ego trips. Looking at Final Fantasy XIV for that. I really thought people put that game on such a high pedestal as well as UCP, and in my opinion, didn't deserve either. It's a good game, I won't deny it, but it's not that good. Not so good that I can think like a guy crying over having to play the expansion is like good for it. Like, no, that doesn't mean anything, and it could be marketing for all we know. It's always healthy to have skepticism, but always present it as that and not actual objective truth, which is a completely different thing. And what you think or feel about something is obviously subjective. Same with everything I'm saying here. But yeah, paying for a character or having a character is just a must pull. That's not only limited, it's stupid. If she was on the standard banner, that'd be fine. People can get her and even pick her an anniversary event. Well, it's not impossible, but it's still not good enough because it's such a good sort of thing to have on your account that you can't play without it necessarily. And yeah, and because this works in endgame, which is mainly the issue here, like if it worked in the main story and stuff, which it probably wouldn't because for some reason, actually no, I'm wrong. Like, enemies are designed to healthgate and kill you sometimes, so it would work there, despite it, because they'll kill you again. But I mean, like in endgame, where you need no downed characters, one of the problems was we always had to bring a sustained character, and that was to either heal or prevent damage. But with Castris, you don't necessarily need to do that. And if you have like a team like Mighty, Tribby, I think Sunday maybe, and another character that can do with HP, like extra HP, that team's goated, and they're not going to change. And that's only because you have Castris on your account. Because they could be instantly revived again. Like even Blade actually, for example. Blade, Jinliu, like they'll be fine there without a sustain. So long as they're fast enough. And they've got one revive, and that's pretty huge. That can replace sustains. And that's why it's a huge problem. But yeah, I think I've talked about that enough, and I think people are divided on it, and it shouldn't be. It's obviously a bad thing, just for the overall health of the game, because this also enables things for the future. You know, if we get revives, then who's to say we won't get like crit rate, crit damage, or even HP buffs? Like, there's endless amounts of possibilities for it, or even like, it's like fucking stupid, like a global passive which makes you clear pure fiction instantly. Like, it clears one wave or two, like, something like that. Like, almost like the Herta does with, like, her enhanced technique. Wait, does she already do that? I thought it doesn't work in endgame. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. I don't know, but in Simulated Universe she has like a pseudo curio sort of effect where she does 99% damage to the first wave of enemies and I think 70 or maybe 30% actually to elites. And yeah, like that's a decent technique. It does make a very valuable pull, but in the end, the thing we're talking about here is like how it sets a standard and how it becomes a necessity. And there's been no moment in my entire time of playing Hoyoverse games that I've actually wanted to quit the game more. Like both, even though I enjoyed them. Uh, Before I talk about that, I want to sort of bring up something else. I was watching a content creator's video who I won't name, and they're talking about this controversy with the global passive, and well, this video was massively hypocritical. It's so bad. It's just, what? How this person has 40k subscribers is just insane. I just can't believe that. It's shocking. So the video was talking about the global passive and talking about various other things about the game, but not the global passive. So that's the first issue. Like, okay, we came here to talk about the global passive, not the fucking other things like the game design or anything, even though it does sort of tie into it a bit. There's like tangents on like power creep and HP inflation, which is like the other thing. But the video felt very hypocritical because I looked at the channel's like previous stuff, previous videos, and in the past like month or so, like this guy claimed he wasn't playing the game anymore and he hadn't played it for months, and I looked at the fucking video history, looked at the preview, and he was playing it in like a video from over a month ago. It's like, what? Well, even a few weeks ago I think there was one, which is really hypocritical because you're not only lying but you're fucking not following up on your word, and that's just nuts. I don't need to explain why that's a problem. But anyway, the other problem I had with that video was the lack of solutions, essentially. And I sensed a lot of defeatism, I can't say that word anymore for some reason, in that video. And it was along the lines of, do whatever you want, a boycott probably won't work, and Hoyoverse doesn't listen. Again, that's defeatism. And it's been proven time and time again that if you don't try, you don't know. Like, defeatism as a argument doesn't stand on its own. It doesn't stand at all. It means falling. It means failure. And that's why it always happens. Because people don't fucking try. They prescribe to defeatism, therefore nothing works. I remember briefly a Simpsons line. Oh, it's like a line in The Simpsons, I can't remember. It's like very true for this situation. Remember, don't try it all, or something like that. It's like really relatable. It's like a similar situation here. Like, if you do try and it fails, then it doesn't matter. You just still tried, and I tried this with like AI and stuff like 2 years ago or more. I said it was bad. I said it needed to be regulated. I said it would bring chaos. And look where we are now. People didn't listen, people didn't try, they instead told me it's inevitable, it's going to happen, get used to it. And now they're complaining. Like, you can't say I didn't warn you. And now I'm just going to sit back and laugh at you all. Not in like a sick and twisted way, but rather, I told you so. And you have to pay the price, essentially. And that's the same here. If you're not willing to give up something so easily for the greater good, then you're pretty much staying complacent for a greater evil. It's as simple as that. Yeah, that's the sort of my viewpoint on defeatism and obviously that content creator. There's one other thing that's sort of gone to me as well. Something I'll have to go back and think about. And there's nothing really towards the end of that. Yes, that community drama. I've already talked about the VA stuff, but mine's more related to, at least what I've noticed anyway, is related to how people latch on to gacha games from other gacha games. I have a huge problem with content creators as well, where the gacha content creators end up sticking to like one game or two, making decent videos on them, like build guides and reviews, and then they start playing another gacha game that they're sponsored by. And it's just like, okay, like, why can't you play any other game? Why does it have to be a gacha? It just makes no fucking sense. You have no concept of what a good game is. And it's not only a bad thing for you, it's just a bad thing for watchers and viewers of these types of videos of content. Because it comes from a perspective of someone who's only played gacha games, essentially, or supposedly in some cases, and have not played any other. And that's never a good thing. You know, it's like if I played, for example, Souls-likes all my life, which I fucking detest, by the way, then I'd only have the perspective of someone who's played Souls-likes, and then when I play a game that's also Souls-like, and I start recommending it for everyone, that's misleading. And even if it's like a sponsor. And also, like, if you can't share your true feelings about it, it's also misleading. Like, I think there needs to be something in YouTube now where we need a community guideline change, where sponsorships need to also disclose the sort of criteria, like what can pass as a sponsorship and what can't. I think one way you're not allowed to express your honest opinion on something should be a thing, and should be actually like required to take legal action if you don't, essentially. You know, if you get a sponsor that's like, I don't know, I'll bring up D-Brand as an example because I have a few problems with D-Brand. It's not actually about the past ones, believe it or not, that had, like, if I got sponsored by D-Brand, which I wouldn't want to, I'd have to give my honest views on them. If they sent me over some products to let me show them video, and sort of look into, I'd have to express my honest views, and if I wasn't allowed to, I wouldn't take it, and that's my non-negotiable thing of it, essentially. I sort of took that non-negotiable bit from Linus Detectives, I think they had a similar system, even though they've gone down the shitter now. Non-negotiables were an interesting aspect of sponsorships, and I'd have to express my honest views on D-Brand if I was sponsored. Yeah, say they sent me a phone skin, I'd say, okay, put the skin on my phone and it's easy to do. It looks nice, but it doesn't serve any function. So it applies to it appeals even applies to a niche audience. Yeah, like, that's bad. Yeah, and also I'm not a phone reviewer or even like something like that, like skins or cases. I do know what I want in a phone, and that's different to what other people want in a phone. But yeah, sponsorships never made sense. If I was doing Souls-like reviews and sponsored by a Souls-like, that's not healthy. And you shouldn't be playing Souls-like all the time. Play something else, and that's my strongest advice to not only content creators but the community. If you're playing games that are non-gacha or non-anime, for example, for like this situation anyway. You're not really playing games at all. Essentially, you're just tunnel visioning on these specific types of genres, and they're not good for you. Essentially, you're not learning anything about them, and not learning the good and the bad. And someone who's like a variety gamer, or sort of always have been, it sucks to see that people don't play a variety of games. And this seems to be consistent. I guess some people don't want to change out the genre, and that's fine. If you want to stick with anime, do so if that makes you happy. That's the most important thing here. But if you are able to play another game, seriously, let your body and mind and thank you for it. And I don't regret doing that with like some of the games I've played over the years. I've played puzzles, I've played certain platformers here and there. I've played games that are like completely out of my wheel zone or whatever. I forgot his wheelhouse, that's it. At Rocksmith 2014, I started in 2014, funny enough. I first learnt guitar. And it's been a fun journey. I haven't regretted it. And it's something I've never played before. I played Guitar Hero as a kid once. It was only once. And I also enjoyed that. And it goes to show that the more you try these things, the more likely you'll find something good that you can also look forward to. So yeah, fuck communities who tunnel vision on gachas. Yeah. So next thing to talk about, second to last thing, the difficult position with Honkai Star Rail. Like, it should be obvious by now that I'm not happy with the state of the game, and this isn't just from the various other dramas like the black screens and HP inflation, power creep, or even the worries of how they're going to implement old character buffs. It's a difficult situation, and I don't know what the right answer is. With Castris being like the come up that broke the straw's back, that's become a massive issue for me at the moment because I'm conflicted between waiting to see until the patch is out or even the preview, and then waiting if they don't change anything, or I just keep playing and just not bother with the parts that annoy me. It's one of those things where I think because the end game is so, as actually the content creator brought up himself, like the end game is about 50% of the game, and it's true for most Hoyoverse games, I think. And that's the reason why you get new characters and new relic sets. And it's one of the rare examples where a change in the game can be good, but it needs to be implemented well. That means no player is left behind, but unfortunately for Hoyoverse games, and this is another massive issue, especially with prevalence of power creep and HP inflation, even in Genshin Impact's case, to an example, to an extent, players don't have any way to catch up. So if you've started in Outland, for example, playing Genshin, it'll take you a few patches not only to reach Outland, but also quite a few to get characters, and not necessarily the characters that you need, and you won't have the sets that you need, because you need to do the fucking story quests to unlock them to begin with, to get to the maps. So it's like, it's so bizarre that they've done this. It was funny at the start when Honkai Star Rail first released, and all the quality of life that had made Genshin look like shit. And it was no surprise because Honkai Star Rail was genuinely well thought out from a quality of life perspective anyway. But now the tables have turned, and it seems like the games do things equally good and equally bad, but in like different ways. They're not equal actually, but they've got their ups and downs. Not being able to catch up is a pain. I've seen new players struggle with this actually firsthand. I did know one actually at one point. And there's also like friends lists of just constant 10 accounts, and yeah, it's no surprise. People do quit because it's not the sort of game they like to play. And gacha players need to understand this as well. Like, not everyone is going to enjoy the game. That's why people do quit sometimes, or even take breaks. And also because you take a break, you can't catch up, and that's the other thing that sucks. You know, I'd love to stop playing Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, which I'll talk about later. But the biggest problem is if it gets better, then I've missed out. And that just fucking sucks. And that's why I need to go out, really wait and think about this. It's not an easy decision to make to just quit a game instantly, even like Genshin Impact. I'd probably think about quitting. I could invest my time into things that are more suited to me, like Final Fantasy 14. I need to finish. Start getting more games in my life over like used to, obviously. Yeah, and these aren't the only problems. Like the end game is just horrific to deal with, as I brought up earlier briefly. You need a way to revisit them. You need a way to actually beat them, for example. Like, with the characters that we have, and as well as them being unlimited, you need a way to beat them without limited characters, and you can't. And that goes for both games. And what I equate all this to, and like whilst there's a good story to both, although the storytelling method I've realised is not as great as it actually is. Like events having some story bits put into it, and missing out on that. But I equivocate these situations to, or these games to, like a bad relationship. It's like having a bad partner, essentially. Partner can treat you nice sometimes, even like roommate actually is another. I've actually experienced that firsthand. It's like having a roommate who seems nice, and you see them every day, but sometimes they're not nice, and they just feel shitty, and you end up like feeling depressed. You feel like you burn out, and also fucking, I don't know, like ruin your relationship. I don't know the word. Burnt bridges. That's one. Yeah. It's like, ugh, why? And the more I look at it from like an outside perspective, the more I realise that games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail are like they're investments, but they don't treat you well enough. And if I look like to bring up an example, I'm watching someone play Metaphor Fantasia at the moment. A very small channel actually, and you unlock characters by progressing through the story. You unlock items through progressing through the story and side quests. And even their like powers and stuff. And I think that's fascinating for a game, and it makes me realise, looking at Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, how embarrassing they are as games. Like, even though we get the Trailblazer upgrades for free and even March to an extent, and probably Darnhide in the future, it's not good enough. And I think it's because the way other games treat others makes us jealous, and I say us because it is a community, and I think there is a lot of spite about that. That's why it's so toxic, because there is FOMO, there is limited characters, and also the word limited I feel is very misleading for it. It's more like won't be around for a while. It's never stated why. I find that very odd. I didn't realise that the other day. Yeah, looking at other games, like they treat their players so much better. You know, even like getting armor upgrades and stuff like armor, I mean gear. Like, look at Final Fantasy 14, you can earn a currency and use that to get the armor. It's so much better. Um, so much better than Genshin. That's because it's a certain thing. At least outside of dungeon drops and raid drops, whatever those are. Like you could still get your gear without having to rely on RNG. It's just a no-brainer. And that's why these games feel so controversial. And I've said before, if you offered a story mode version of the game with the relevant events that are good anyway, like like the events of important story points, and then the stories that come with it, and maybe the exploration, that'd be fine. I'd be happy with that game. I'm sure many others would too. Because there's money on the line and characters, then that's a massive problem. And your character's tied to your ability to even clear the story sometimes. Like, I remember that in 1.6. I only had the first 3 characters that ever came out, and I couldn't beat the bosses that came out in 1.6. Couldn't beat Frontier, couldn't beat Argentina, couldn't beat, what's the name, Tuesday. It was impossible. And I had to wait a good few weeks before I could even tackle it. It fucking sucked. There's no good way of putting that. So that became a problem with that's not what I'm saying. The point is that it's always going to be a problem, I think, and if they don't fix it, then if they don't offer a solution even in that way, like even like a subscription service version with characters unlocked or not, well, there's different ways to tackle it. But having it be a gacha is just not fun. And I think the final thing to talk about is how my spending is essentially compromised because every month I invest in the Welkin, the 30 days of currency basically. And I don't know if it's a good investment. I know it's better than paying it upright. At the same time, I wish I could spend it on something else, and the same goes for the Battle Pass. And people might say, like, don't spend it, just play the game free to play. You can't play the game free to play. If you've ever tried, you would know. I remember back in the early days of Genshin Impact 1.3, being free to play was quite a huge deal, and people were doing it all the time. The problem is, it wasn't easy, and it was never actually doable. And people pretended like it was because other people for some reason got lucky with like artifacts and weapons and stuff. But yeah, like it's not an easy thing, and it fucking sucked for that reason. And then if you even did try and free to play in Honkai Star Rail, it's just a death sentence because you're not going to be able to beat content. You're not going to have the resources to pull new characters. And even though there'll be people who say like you can do it free to play, these are niche scenarios, and failing to take into account that you probably earn these resources over years of playing. So it doesn't apply to a new player. It doesn't apply to even me, for example, who's just played but not stop for over a year now. Like it's impossible to sort of give up because there's so much at stake. Especially as I said, it's tied to endgame, and you can't get past the endgame without a good group, good characters, good whatever. it's all fucking spread out and messed up in so many different ways. And yeah, obviously I'm getting very tired of this. I just want this shit to stop. I want these to be good games, and that's something I think many people share. If you agree with me or not, it's not going to happen because people will not take it up, like boycotting. I think it is useless and unleashed to defeat it. Again, you don't know until you try. Oh, medication kick, I know, I'm getting very tired. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Thanks for listening. If you have, that's my stance. I think my final decision will be when the early preview or the patch comes out. It depends what comes first. Well, it's also the early preview, but it depends on what people say. Like, if we don't see decent content creators bring this up, then I think it's possible that the game's doomed. Could be wrong. We can only hope it gets better, but even then, it's all down to like the community and stuff. What others choose to do. So yeah, thanks for listening, and see you another time.